Hey everyone, and welcome back to another explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today because we're talking about one of the most underappreciated yet totally game-changing tools in the entire world of debate and public speaking. And the best part? It doesn't cost a dime. It doesn't require hours of late-night research. In fact, it requires you to do literally nothing at all for just a brief moment. Today, we're breaking down the power of the pause. Okay, let's dive into this and explore how a little bit of strategic silence can completely transform a perfectly fine speech into a truly unforgettable one.
The power of the pause, experiencing the difference. To really grasp the impact of what we're talking about here, we're going to jump right in and do a live oral test.
All right, I want you to listen closely. Here's version number 1. Homework reduces sleep and affects student health. Okay. Pretty straightforward, right? Now, let's compare that to version number 2. Homework reduces sleep and affects student health. Now, think about it for a second. Which version sounded stronger to you? If you're like pretty much everyone else who hears this, the second one absolutely took the cake. It carried way more weight. It felt serious. And why? Well, it's all because of that deliberate, exactingly placed pause. That tiny, split second of silence is the power of pausing in action. It literally gives your words the time they need to actually matter to your audience. Why strong speakers pause. Debunking the speed myth. You see, there is a massive trap that almost every beginner falls into when they first step up to the podium. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what's going on. We have this beginner myth, this idea that strong speakers talk really quickly. When you're nervous, or when you have a giant mountain of evidence you're desperate to get through, your brain completely tricks you. It tells you that speed equals competence. You think, man, if I just talk incredibly fast, I'll sound like an absolute expert. But the pro strategy is the exact opposite. Strong speakers, the ones who consistently win rounds and captivate audiences, they actually pause more. They aren't just rushing to the finish line. So let's break down exactly why this professional strategy works so incredibly well, especially when the stakes are high in a competitive debate. There are really 3 core reasons. First up, judges actually understand your ideas better. Remember, a judge is listening to super complex arguments, and they're usually furiously taking notes at the exact same time. If you never pause, you never give their brain a chance to process what you literally just said. Second, listeners stay focused. A relentless wall of fast words, that just turns into white noise after a while. Pauses act like verbal punctuation marks. They wake the listener up and pull them right back in. And third, speakers sound confident. Rushing just sounds panicked. Pausing, that proves you are totally in control of the room and your material. Pausing before and after, the mechanics of silence. Let's look at the actual tactical application of silence to make sure your points land with maximum impact. Now what's really interesting about this is how we can use a pause right after a key point to let an idea really settle. Listen to this quote from a debate. Our first argument is student health, because sleep improves focus and learning. Did you catch that? I stated the main idea, student health, and then I just stopped. That pause right after the key phrase is absolutely crucial. It gives the judge a literal second to physically write down student health on their notepad. Without that pause, if I just blasted through the whole sentence, the idea just sounds rushed, it gets totally buried, and it is significantly harder for the judge to track your logic. But here's the fun part. We can actually flip that tactic around for a totally different but equally powerful effect. Let's look at pausing before an important idea. Listen to how this completely shifts the dynamic. The most important reason is this: student health. Wow, do you feel that tension? By pausing right before the key phrase, you're creating drama. You're building up this massive anticipation. That silence is basically a giant neon sign telling the judge, hey, wake up, get your pen ready because something incredibly important is about to come out of my mouth. The confidence strategy, the psychology of pausing. Let's shift our focus for a second to the internal psychological benefits for you, the speaker. So, the crucial point is how we actually define this concept in our own heads. A pause is not a mistake. I really need every debater to hear that loud and clear. Dead air does not mean you failed. A pause is a strategy. Think about what happens when you just allow yourself to stop for a second. You get a chance to think more clearly and mentally preview your very next sentence. You actually get to breathe more easily, which physically lowers your heart rate. And because you're calm and collected, you automatically sound way more confident. I promise you, if you watch the pros, they use intentional pauses all the time. It's a sign of total mastery, not a sign of weakness. Mini challenging quiz. Test your skills. All right, let's gamify this explainer a little bit with a live interactive challenge right now to see if you can spot the difference.
Here is your challenge. I'm going to read two options back to back, and I want you to decide which one has the stronger, clearer delivery. Here goes option 1. Our argument affects every student every day because sleep is important. And here is option 2. Our argument affects every student every day because sleep is important. Okay, if you guessed option 2, you completely nailed it. Option 1 is just a runaway train. Option 2 uses deliberate, careful pacing. By separating every student and every day with silence, those words suddenly carry real emotional weight. Pauses make the ideas clearer and undeniably stronger.
Let's move to and see how this builds into a rapid-fire quiz. Question 1, read along with me. Strong speakers pause. Is it A, never, B, only by accident, or C, on purpose? Lock that answer in your head.
Keeping the momentum going, question 2. Pauses help judges A, understand ideas, B, ignore arguments, or C, shorten speeches. Think back to what we said about taking notes. You got your answer? Awesome. Let's see how you did. And here are the results. For question 1, the answer is definitely C, on purpose. Strong speaking is always intentional speaking. And for question 2, the answer is A, understand ideas. You are literally giving the judge the mental breathing room they need to properly evaluate your brilliant arguments. If you got both of those right, excellent job. You are well on your way to mastering vocal delivery. Teaser, the next level. What's next? As we wrap up today's explainer, I really want you to take this lesson straight into your next practice or your next round. Remember, pausing makes your speeches clearer, it highlights your best ideas, and it projects incredible confidence. But vocal delivery is only half of the physical equation in debate. Silence might be your absolute best vocal weapon, but what you do with your eyes while you're speaking, and especially while you're pausing, is just as critical. So next up in our series, we're going to dive into how eye contact helps speakers deeply connect with judges and sound more confident instantly. You definitely won't want to miss that one. Silence is a weapon, folks, so the next time you step up to that podium, will you be brave enough to use it?